Good morning, boys and girls, from Black Powder headquarters and the Bojangles studio high on Sassafras Mountain. CDA presents Real Tree Radio. Welcome to a brand new, unused Saturday morning. Good morning, boys and girls, from Black Powder headquarters in the Bojangles studio high in the mountains of North Georgia. This is O'Neill Outside presenting to you Real Tree Radio. Welcome to a brand new, unused opening day of deer season, Saturday morning. So welcome to the program, everyone. We have special guests for this hour and the past hour, and we're going to rehash some of the same questions and subject matter. I hope you're on the way to the woods this morning. It's my attempt now at some self-promotion for you to watch O'Neill Outside television on Fox networks all over the country, the Pursuit Channel, the Hunt Channel, and on and on and on ad nauseum. So O'Neill Outside has been on the air for 37 years, and we thank you for that. So this is O'Neill Outside and Real Tree Radio. We have as our guest today Charlie Killmaster. He's a state wildlife biologist, white-tailed deer biologist. Is that correct?
Correct.
And also Mitchell Crump. He's a game warden, for want of a better term, and we'll be talking with him over the next hour or so. And we welcome your calls. The telephone numbers are, if you'd like to join us, 404-872-0750 in the Atlanta area, or outside the Atlanta area on SB Nation Radio and on the WSB signal and 95.5 across the country. The number is 800 WSB Talk or 800-972-8255. So we will welcome your calls and comments. We're talking about the white-tailed deer. We're leaving fishing out of it this morning. White-tailed deer and those deer populations and the safety and concerns from the game warden side with our two very, very special guests. So before I get away from it and lose the opportunity, if you're listening to the program now and you're a local guy, if you'll visit Horsetown stores all over Georgia or Cherokee County Toyota, you can drop by anytime. Just walk in. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to fill out anything, but you can ask for a signed O'Neill Outside fishing cap. It's a quality hat, and I would welcome you to go by and pick up one. It's 38 minutes after the hour, 8.5 minutes after the hour, and we'll begin taking your calls. So Mark and the rest of you guys hold on. This is O'Neill. Welcome back, everyone. 12 after the hour. We got a call here we need to get to right away, but first of all, let me introduce to you Charlie Killmaster. Charlie is a Georgia state deer biologist, and we have with us also Mitchell Crump, who is basically a game warden, okay? And we'll be talking with them. But first of all, for you, Charlie, let's go ahead and entertain a call from Mark from Camden County. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, O'Neill. How are y'all?
Oh, it's always good to hear from you. What's on your mind this morning?
You know where I'm heading, but
yes,
heading to my tree stand in Jeff Davis County. But this is more directed at Ranger Crump.
Okay.
Everybody knows that our game wardens they enforce our state fish and game laws. Mm-hmm. But expand upon just for a minute, if you would, some of the invaluable services that our DNR law enforcement provide to the people of the state in general. It's one thing people take for granted. If you get lost in the woods, you get in distress on the water. But I'll just hush and listen more than anything else. I know when we had our hurricanes blow through here the last couple of years, it was our DNR rangers that were on the road in the middle of the storm, clearing the roads and things like that. So
here's a wide open opportunity.
If you would, yes, sir. Just expand some on some of the other services you provide. A lot of people aren't even aware of all the other things that you guys do.
Okay, Mitchell.
All right. Well, we do take care of all the law enforcement on the water and in the woods, but on top of that, we do. We're the #1 lead agency on search and rescue in the state. We have specialized equipment that helps with that, everything from four-wheelers and boats to helicopters. The state, for the state, we do long line extractions that get injured people out at areas where you can't hardly get people into to get them. We do any kind of storm damage help. Anything from direct traffic to help the DOT ice roads to cut out trees at the latest hurricane. We've had teams there ever since the day before the event, and we've everything from deliver food to water to cut trees out of the way. We're called on to go to with ambulance crews and fire crews to do anything needed.
Wow.
So anything from protect them to actually get them in and out as needed. So the DNR does perform a lot of extra duties that people do not realize.
Oh, I didn't know that, Charlie.
And I'll even add to that, and it's you know, with things like these hurricanes, it's all hands on deck. I was down on hurricane duty earlier this week, sawing trees myself. We had game wardens down there. We had fisheries biologists and fisheries technicians. We had non-game invasive plant biologists down there working with us. All hands on deck cutting trees. Everybody, the whole agency pitching in. Park staff, state parks, we all chip in and get it done.
Well, there you are, Mark. What do you think? You're not surprised, are you? Mark must be gone already, but that's okay. We got the answer question. Always an intelligent call from Mark. All right, let's revisit a couple of things that we visited during the first hour of the program. It's 15 after right now. Let me give you the telephone numbers: 404-872-0750 or 800-972-8255. Let's go to you first. You, Charlie, a state whitetail deer biologist. What in the world do you do?
I do a lot.
Feels like it, huh?
But it's all fun. I love my job. I coordinate all of our data collection, and I do a lot of our analysis that helps inform our hunting regulations every year. And I coordinate our disease surveillance. We do a lot of work with things like hemorrhagic disease, which we're having a pretty bad year with this year. We do surveillance for chronic wasting disease. And then I do a lot of customer service work. I work with hunters all over the state on land management, giving them advice. And, anything I can do to help the public. I answer tons and tons of questions. You wouldn't believe how many pictures I get emailed, either how old is this deer or what's wrong with this deer.
Oh, yeah,
I get that all the time.
All right, let's go to this. How many deer are in Georgia walking around right now?
My guess, and I'm not joking, it's a guess, educated guess rather, but our latest population estimate's about 1.2 to 1.3 million. And I know that sounds like a lot of deer. Oh, there's no way there can be over 1 million deer in the state. Well, we got almost 10 million people, so 10 people for every deer. And, Georgia is almost 60,000 square miles, 640 acres in a square mile. What's that, 43 million acres? So, a little over 1 million deer doesn't sound like as many as you think.
As much, does it?
Nope.
Okay, how many over the course of the season, beginning today, well, we've had primitive weapons and we already had archery, and now the rifle season opens this morning. Over the course of the season, how many white-tailed deer will be harvested?
On average, between 350 and 400,000.
Okay, so we started with 1.3 million or 1.3 million. We're going to harvest 350 to 400,000. Are those numbers correct with our habitat?
Yes, we are in the best place that we've been in my 13-year career with the deer population. We've got a perfect balance with the deer population and the habitat as a whole. There's places that are within that are too high or too low. Mountains, especially being too low on the public land at least. But by and large, on average, we are in a great spot. We've got great quality deer. We've got good numbers of deer. We're in the golden days of deer hunting in the state of Georgia.
All right, before I get to Mitchell with another question then, we are where we are, and it's good. How long did it take us to get that way?
It took a lot of years. By the turn of the 20th century, we had almost annihilated every deer in the state through habitat destruction and market hunting. And it took from the 1920s until 1975, which was our major restocking effort. And then we didn't see the population get up to a good level until the 1980s, and then it quickly jumped out of control, remained overabundant until about 2005, and we got it down and went down a little bit too low, and then we brought it back up in the last 5 to 6 years, and now we're in a perfect spot. So we've been a long way and a big roller coaster ride with the deer population.
Okay, I want to include Mitchell in a minute, but I want to, if we don't get before the next break, but I want to handle the following question. How is it that you managed when you had too many deer for the habitat? What tool did you manage to put it back under control? It's a baited question.
Well, there are a couple of different things. Season length, bag limits, and the number of either sex days. Those are the major drivers in how we control the deer population. And to do all of that, you got to have hunters.
Yep, that's the guy. Yeah, otherwise you'd have to hire it done, right?
Well,
we pay
if
our
we
own
didn't have
way.
the hunters, we wouldn't have the money to hire it done.
That's exactly right. Well, that's good. So, I think it helps. The more you know, the more you understand, the more ability you have to enjoy, whether you're fishing, hunting, or whatever the case might be. If a guy's on the way to the woods now and he knows how many deer are in Georgia and the role that you guys play, maybe it expands his vision while he's sitting in the deer stand watching the deer walk by and find out, how did this all happen and how long did it take? I think it allows that guy to enjoy the season more. And it is opening day, so a lot of and did I ask how many people will be hunting?
Well, we've got about 350,000 deer hunters in the state of Georgia, and a good percentage of them are going to be in the woods on opening weekend.
Okay. We're going to handle some questions when we get back. I have a question for Mitchell, and then for both of you when we get back, I'm going to ask for some tactics, okay? Hunting tactics for the guy who doesn't have a lease that's got a food plot in it and everything, and we'll talk about that. All right, this is O'Neill, 404-872-0750, 800-972-8255. Mitchell Crump is with us. He's a game warden, and we'll have questions for him, and we have calls that we'll look into when we return. Welcome back. You're listening to O'Neill Outside in Realtree Radio, the #1 live outdoor-based radio talk show in the country. My guest is Charlie Killmaster and Mitchell Crump, and Mitchell is a game warden. So let me ask you, Mitchell, please, and we have plenty of calls, and we'll get to them. But out of the violations that you're forced to investigate, what is the biggest surprise to that person who says, "What are you after me for? What did I do wrong?"
The biggest surprise for most people are license violations. I mean, people that are, hunting illegally usually know that, other than they'll go to the store or go online, they'll buy a license, and they won't get the proper license. Now, Georgia has made efforts on correcting that. In the last year, they have simplified and done away with some license and combined things together to help out. But like I said, the biggest thing people get in trouble about that they're not aware of is buying the wrong license.
Okay. Well, that's not bad.
That's not bad.
It's not good, but it's not necessarily bad. They don't have come up on somebody with 8 or 10 deer in the truck.
That's right. So, and we try to help out in that situation. If we have service, we can help them purchase a license in our truck.
Mm-hmm.
Generally speaking, we would a lot more prefer to see them buy a license than we would to write them a ticket in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to be helpful there, because most people that have gone and taken the effort to buy something were at least trying to do the right thing.
Okay. And you're not, excuse me, and you're not throwing rocks at them because of that.
No, as long as they're trying, we will work with them on the general case.
Excuse me, fellas. Okay, now let's go to some of the callers, if you will. Let's go back. Excuse me, guys. Let's go back and talk to Mark, calling again from Camden County. And let's put him back on the air. Good morning, Mark. And you have a question, Mark, I believe.
Yes, trying to find out what the legal distance is a hunter can put bait near a property line.
Okay, Mitchell?
All right, the legal distance for deer, there's not a specified distance at this time. They tried to mirror the law for hogs, which is 50 yards from a property line, but there were some deals when the law was written and it was left out. What you'll probably see in the next year or so is it'll change to that also and be the 50 yards. But at the moment, there's no specified distance on deer and 50 yards on hogs.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Mark?
Yeah, because I was actually giving a written warning for it.
Well,
So in talking to several different resource officers, it's a education issue between the resource officers. And I guess it falls into the hog hunting issue.
yeah, it is. It deals with that because it is very specific in the hog hunting that it's 50 yards.
Well, there you
That
are.
answered my question.
Okay. Thanks for calling, Mark.
Thank you, O'Neill.
You bet. See you later now. There you go. Excuse me, everyone. I'm sorry that I have been ill a little bit over the last couple of weeks. Not a little bit. I've been sick. Okay, and so I'm just now recovering. Okay, 28 after the hour. Let's chat now with Brian calling from Atlanta. Brian, good morning. This is Real Tree Radio. Welcome. What is your question or comment?
Good morning.
Good morning.
On Facebook stuff, I've seen several articles about bovine tuberculosis in deer and to start checking your harvests. Are there any documented cases of that in Georgia that you know of?
Okay, Charlie?
To date, we have not had any documented cases, and that is one of the biggies that we keep an eye out for. We do routine surveillance throughout the state for all kinds of diseases that impact deer. Well, not just deer, all of our species of wildlife. We have a dedicated lab that does necropsy animals for us. We've got an entire team of veterinarians there that work for us in all the southeastern states, based right there in Athens at the University of Georgia, called the Southeastern Cooperative Wildlife Disease Study. And so having them right in our backyard, it's easy for us to get animals in and tested. So we do rely on the public to report things, though. If you come across a sick or dead deer, we want to know about it, and just give us a call your local game management office and talk with a biologist, and they can facilitate getting that animal into the lab or talk through it and maybe collect some biological samples from it and see if we can determine what's going on.
Okay, how about that, Brian?
That works. Thank you, guys.
You bet. Good luck. Are you on the way to the woods?
No, I'm on my way to work.
Oh, that's okay. You'll get to hunt later.
Yes.
You
Yes, I
bet.
will.
And be safe while you do. There you go. Now, excuse me. Let's visit a couple of questions that we had in the first hour, if you don't mind, fellas. What is the primary subject, or what piece of advice would you have, Mitchell, for the people that are going to be deer hunting over this season?
As in for taking game?
Taking game, their participation in the woods, in the deer stand. What would you tell them is the primary message from a game warden standpoint?
Well, we want to say have fun, but we also want to say be safe. Like I said, I want to take that extra second, and that's all it takes for you to think about what you're doing and put on the proper harness if you're climbing into a stand, pull your weapon up properly. If you're fishing, keep a life jacket close by. Just take that extra minute to think about your safety and the people with your safety, because even though it's recreation, it can be hazardous, and it can ruin a good day if you don't.
Yeah. And how long has it been, search your memory now, because I do remember, but I don't remember how long ago, that another hunter was shot at or shot in the woods in deer season?
I don't remember the dates, but we've had tree stand accidents and shooting accidents this year, so.
Already?
Well,
fellas, in follow-up to that, it's just deer hunting. You're not saving anyone's life. Take the extra moments to be safe.
and you'll enjoy it more.
That's right, and you get to, as I said in the first hour, you get to go home and lie about it. right?
Very true.
Okay. 32 after the hour, 404-872-0750, 800-972-8255. So, how many 350,000 people will hunt over the season? How many are in the woods this morning, opening day?
I don't know for sure, but quite a few, a good percentage, over 50% of that 350,000.
Is this the best day?
Well, it depends on your perspective. If you're in North Georgia and you're after a doe, then no.
Right.
Because
Okay.
it's buck only in a lot of the northern part of the state. It won't be a couple more weeks and doe days open back up, and then that'll be your day if you're the doe man.
Okay. All right, here's the question. Let's see, it's 32. I've got enough time to to handle this. The pervasive question that's with a multitude of answers, but I want the correct one. What determines the beginning of the rut in both the male and female species of white-tailed deer? What determines the rut dates?
Well, the trigger.
Okay. Good terminology.
There's
All right.
there's a pre-programmed thing that controls the date, but the trigger for that is photo period, day
Okay.
length.
Explain that.
Okay, so what controls the breeding date is going to be the genetics of the animals. And as you know, we have genetics from a lot of different areas of the country that were all brought here to Georgia. We got deer from Wisconsin, we got deer from Texas, and most of our deer restocking came from within the state, our barrier islands. So we've got a good variety of deer, but our rut ranges from mid-October to late December, depending on where you are in the state, and a lot of that is genetically programmed. So with that genetic program in for those dates, it's the day length, the shortening of days, that actually triggers that hormonal process that starts in the females, and that hormonal process in the females is what triggers the hormonal process in the males.
Okay.
So as we lead the summer and males' testosterone starts to rise, their antlers mineralize and harden, and they shed velvet. They start rubbing trees. They start fighting with other bucks, and that's the good time to be in the deer woods.
With that in mind, then, my smart aleck answer to that question people ask me so often is, when is the rut? I say same time as last year.
That's right.
Same time.
That's
same
right.
day.
Well, a lot of
practically.
people think the weather impacts the rut, and
Well, a lot of things do.
right. Well, the rut itself is not necessarily impacted, but deer movement can be impacted by weather factors and that sort of thing. But if you look at like say you pull some fetal aging data from does in late season, you will find that year after year the peak breeding dates are going to be the same in the area that you're hunting.
Okay. Quick question, quick answer. Is there a second rut?
Yes.
Okay, we'll talk about that when we get back. That's a loaded question that most deer hunters don't understand because they don't look at it scientifically at all. So we're going to talk about the second rut. Right now, let me give you the telephone numbers at 404-872-0750, 800-972-8255. So Daniel and Wade and Richard and all you guys, if you'd like to hold on, we'll try to get to your questions, I promise. Self-serving promotion, you can watch O'Neill Outside by going to O'Neill Outside website and to the YouTube channel, and you can watch all of the adventures and misadventures of O'Neill Outside with Travis Johnson. Travis lives in Texas now, that rascal. Right now he's in Colorado on an elk hunt. Talk about living the life. Unbelievable. Okay, we got to get out of here. You know the telephone numbers. Our guest is Charlie Killmaster and Mitchell Crump, and we invite your questions, and we'll be back. Welcome back, everyone. 40 after the hour. Let's get to some of the calls. Mitchell and Charlie can hold on with some of the social and listen to some of these things here. Let's talk to Daniel, calling from Monticello, Georgia. Good morning, Daniel.
Good morning, O'Neill. I got a question. I've been hunting an area for probably 30 years. It's a private gentleman I've leased from, and I've had stands kind of probably 70 yards off the line. I hunt next to timberland, and some new guys apparently have leased it. And, of course, I've got videos of them coming on the property, going to their stand and riding four-wheelers and razors down my land to get to their access to bring their land stands in.
Uh-huh.
And also, my biggest question, they have hooked the stand right, climber, right on the line. Like, 70 yards in front of my stand.
I
I
understand.
could actually see the bottom of the tree that they've hooked onto. Is it legal to hunt that close to the line?
Mitchell,
is
why don't
that-
you comment? Hold on. Mitchell, you comment, please.
There's no legal setback for a stand on a line, so they can actually be on a line tree. Now they cannot shoot into your hunting club, but they can actually put the stand on the line if necessary or if they wish. I know it's not courteous, and we ask people not to, but there's no law against it.
Well, you've got some rascals next to you there, Brian.
Yes, sir. It's
Daniel?
actually
Uh-huh.
cut over, and they can't really see on their part. They have to walk right down the edge of the line, and the cutover is probably 4 years grown up, so they can't see real good on their side. We can see pretty good on my side. Mine's a Oak Ridge, but
Well,
I was wanting to make sure that, it's upset because I've been hunting the stand I got a 140 class and a 130 class. I got some nice bucks out of this stand. I don't
see.
want to move because some new people just come in there on top of me, but I may not have a choice.
All right, Mitchell, comment.
Well, I wish everybody was courteous, but they're usually not. Now, if they are coming onto your land physically and interrupting your hunt, like you're in the stand, they drive by you, there are some laws that can deal with that. And if you want, contact your local ranger or local game warden, and they can give you the paperwork called a landowner affidavit, which is asking that the state prosecute anybody that does you wrong in this case.
Okay.
Now, like I said, there's no legal setback for them putting a stand there, but if they
I guess I could hook a stand right next to theirs and climb right up and look them in the face if I wanted to.
you could. I'm not saying
I
that's a
wanted
good
to be
idea, but
be as nice as they are.
but just like I said, try to avoid conflict with them. But like I said,
have.
if you keep running into problems, like I said, contact your local game warden. They'll come out, take a look at it, help you with the landowner affidavit process. And if they should shoot a deer on your property, then they have crossed the line, and they can be prosecuted at that point.
Well, there you are.
Yeah.
Absolutely appreciate y'all's help.
You bet.
Good luck
sir.
to y'all, and have a nice day.
You bet. Thank you. Good luck this season.
Something else that helps out in those circumstances is just communication. Just talk with your neighbors. It may not always get you somewhere, but sometimes, if people realize that they're impacting somebody else, sometimes it can work out, and you can form a relationship with your neighbors. We always encourage people to form cooperatives and people that want to protect younger bucks and maybe quality deer manage. We really encourage the formation of multiple property cooperatives. So, building up that communication can bridge a lot of those gaps, and it won't work every time, but sometimes it helps just to go
That's right.
talk to them.
Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't know that you're there. Let's see who's up next. Jeff is calling from Social Circle. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, O'Neill. How are you?
Lovely.
Rick Hobbins,
Oh,
your
my
old fishing
goodness.
buddy.
That's let me introduce this fellow. Jeff and I have been fishing and hunting buddies, not recently, but when we were, Jeff, 13 years old?
Yeah, back in the late 50s, 60s.
Yeah. We went to a different high school, played sports against each other, but we always spent the summer fishing and doing a lot of deer hunting, just walking in the woods, right?
That's right. And
Yep.
I never will forget the time, since we're talking about deer hunting this morning,
Okay.
about a good friend of mine named O'Neill.
Mm-hmm.
Bought an $18 Mauser rifle.
Yes, I did. No, I don't think it was $18. I think it was about $9 or $10. But go ahead.
Well, knowing you, it probably was cheaper.
Yeah.
But anyway, going into the woods, and they've never shot the gun.
Mm-mm.
And the biggest deer in Georgia comes running down a hill and stops right in front of you. And I never will forget it. You shot, I don't know how many times, and I was listening in the distance in my stand, and boy, I said, boy, he must have had a herd of them come on him.
I missed
So
him
I
every time.
Went up there, and you had missed him, and I think you had wrapped the gun around a tree.
I felt like it, that's for sure. Yeah,
That's right.
I bought that rifle. It was a Mauser,
Right.
open sight, and it wasn't anywhere near close to being sighted in.
No, I never will forget that. And it's, I appreciate the copy of your book you sent me, but the next book you do, I need to edit some of it with you.
Oh, I understand. I understand. I can assure you I will not give you that opportunity.
Well, okay.
Yeah,
I
that's
just want
now
to tell all.
the book that Jeff is referring to is O'Neill Outside, People and Places Along the Way, and Jeff is part of some of those stories that Jeff and I used to have in one of the stories, if you don't mind, Jeff. Let's see my time. I'm in good shape here. Jeff and I didn't work at Kroger when we were 13, 14 years old. We went to local catfish ponds, and we caught enough catfish and carp to sell to the people along the banks, and that's how we made our money in the summertime. Is that about right?
That's right.
Yep. And we would make $7 or $8 and eat moon pies and drink Coca-Colas all day.
I believe it was RC's.
It was RC, moon pie and RC. And we baited the hole. We baited the fish right in front of us. And we caught enough fish to sell to the other people around the lake, and had a great time doing it, and it's a fond memory.
That it is. It sure is.
You bet.
Brings back memories.
You bet.
But,
Plenty of them.
One thing I want to say this morning to all the people going out in the woods, please, like the gentleman said a while ago, check your deer stands.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people in my club and where I hunt have fallen, and it's just stupidity. Wear a harness.
Yes. You fell out some couple of decades ago, didn't you?
Yes, more than a couple of decades ago, but it was my own fault.
Yeah.
No safety harness and being stupid.
Oh.
Trying to get a shot at a deer that I shouldn't have shot at in the first place.
Well, there you are, a multitude of reasons. And because of our friendship together, I'm going to tell you I'm not a bit surprised.
Okay. Listen, it's great talking to you.
You bet. Stay in touch more often, Jeff.
Tell Gail hello.
I will do that too. See you soon.
All right, bye.
There you go. How about that? Well, that's let's see. I'm 75. We've been friends for 63 years, 62 years. Oh my goodness. Well, 48 after the hour. Let's handle a question here just for a moment about the second rut. Does it exist, and what's the situation that dictates or allows that to happen?
Well, I said yes before, but in all honesty, it really depends. There's a couple of different things that cause rutting behavior later past the initial peak. What you got to realize is that maybe, and during the peak rut, only about 30 to 40% of the females out there actually get bred on the first the peak rut. The other 60% get bred outside of that in the weeks leading up to it and the weeks after. So there's breeding activity that spans for a month, maybe even 2 months, depending on the herd demographics.
Mm-hmm.
So the breeding season is not it's not like all the does get bred in 1 week. It just doesn't happen like that down here in the South.
Mm-hmm.
But what you have is this second rut that comes along in the right conditions. You have when you got really good quality habitat, you'll have a percentage of your fawns that come into heat their first year. So when they get to be 8 or 9 months old, which is January to March, if they're in really good shape, they'll come into heat and they'll get bred, and it'll cause some rutting behavior. And then if you have does that maybe didn't get bred on their first cycle or the second cycle, a cycle every 28 days, in the breeding season. If they didn't get bred on the first cycle, they'll come into heat again and give it another shot. And again, you'll see bucks chasing does. And when you see spotted fawns at this time of year, that's usually the result of that later peak in breeding activity.
Well, that tells me that you should hunt the entire season.
That's right.
You bet you should. Let's see here. It's 50 after the hour, and we've got time for a call here from, let's speak to, if I can see it correctly here on my screen. Let me get my glasses just for a moment. And let's talk to Marcus. Let's talk to Marcus from Douglas County. Good morning, Marcus.
Hey, O'Neill, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, long-time listener, first-time caller.
I recognize the voice.
Got a comment about the fellow that called about the timber company folks hunting on the line.
Okay.
And something he can check into. I know a lot of timber companies, when they lease, and part of their lease agreement, there is stipulations about how close you can hunt to a property line in their lease agreement. So he could find out who is actually leasing that property to the gentleman next to him and find out what their stipulations are. And a lot of timber companies have pretty much a zero tolerance policy on violations of stuff like that, and they could possibly risk losing their lease if they continue to violate anything if it is within their lease agreement.
That's right. And that lends itself back to what Charlie said about, hey, visit the guys in the club next door and say, hey, do me a favor, will you? Can you move that stand a little bit? It may not matter to the other people, but it matters a lot to me. Have a conversation, huh?
That's right.
That's it. And I got a question for the DNR, too. I know I'm in public safety myself, headed to work right now. But a lot of people get confused and misunderstand when should you call local law enforcement and when should you call DNR. Because, you have certain issues like trespassing issues that you may be told to call DNR when you could actually call local sheriff's department or somebody. So if they could please, try to clear that up for some folks, because I know they're like most public safety folks. They are spread so thin, and it would kind of probably help them out and help the local PD out.
Okay, I've got 30 seconds, Mitchell.
All right, the way we tell people to handle that, if it's a normal trespassing issue, contact the local authorities. If it's a theft issue, contact the local authorities. If it's anything to do with hunting and fishing and etc., then contact the DNR.
Okay. That's a rather simple
Clears
answer, isn't it?
That's as simple as it can be.
Okay. All right, you're on the way to work, you say?
I'm on the way to work, O'Neill. I actually work with that Medal of Honor recipient, Rusty Brown.
Oh, my goodness sakes. Yeah, he was the Medal of Honor, or he was the, Rusty Brown, he was the silent hero last week, right?
That's right. Yes, sir. Headed to work. He's a very humble fella, and like most of us in public safety, he'll tell you, man, I was just doing my job.
I understand. I got to go, pal. Have a great weekend. This is O'Neill, and we'll be back with another 3-minute segment on O'Neill Outside and Realtree Radio. I don't think I'll get to any more calls. I want to thank Charlie Kilmaster, whitetail biologist for the state of Georgia, and Mitchell Crump, for a wildlife officer, if you will, or game warden. Game warden, for getting up early and being here with us today. The audience learned a lot today, don't you think, guys?
I think so, and we always appreciate you having us.
Well, it's the best show that we have every year, and I wish we could do this every week.
I don't know if I could get up this early every week like you.
That's right. And self-serving promotion, I'm gratified that tonight at the Callaway Convention Center in LaGrange, Georgia, O'Neill, along with Walter Reeves and a couple of other famous, much more famous people, will be inducted into the Georgia Radio Hall of Fame. And I am most flattered by all that. So many thanks to WSB, Paul, the engineering there, to Karen Green and Brian Green for managing everything and managing the time here that O'Neill usually fouls up before each and every break going in and out. And to the SB Nation nationwide, thanks for joining us. It's always a pleasure to be able to talk about outdoors and to magnify the knowledge, if you will, from experts like Charlie and like Mitchell, so that it doesn't come from stories from O'Neill. It's always a pleasure. So with the number one state's theme song that I've ever heard before. We'll leave you a few seconds early. So thanks, Charlie. Thank you, Mitchell. You guys have a safe deer season to both of you. This is O'Neill, and I'll see you guys next week.